A North County homeowner claims that her tenant is taking advantage of COVID rental rules meant to help those struggling during this time.
Team 10 investigator Melissa Masiha shows us what attorneys said are options for small-time landlords.
She's quite busy these days.
Alice Von Simpson owns this Encinitas condo. She used to live here, then her family got a lot larger.
And when I blended families with my boyfriend, we suddenly had a lot of children. We went from 2 to 5, and then we had this little one together.
They're now renting a different place, but kept this condo and rented it out. Alice said she noticed a couple unusual things from the beginning, but let it go at first.
And we actually had a conversation when she signed the lease. She said, "Oh, can you remove the subletting clause?" And I said, definitely not.
At this point, we're not naming the tenant. Alice said she plans to file a lawsuit soon. She said there were multiple issues, including a post advertising the condo on a short-term rental website. As of June 16th, the listing was still active. Despite the contract prohibiting subletters, Alice said there were 2 people living with her tenant in April. I spoke to one of them, a wounded Marine veteran named Jake.
She took advantage of my ignorance of the fact that she didn't own the house. She took advantage of my ignorance on the fact that she couldn't have tenants.
Jake said he and one other roommate were paying rent to her. He showed me a $1,500 transaction for his portion.
The rent is $3,500. She gets $2,600 or $2,700 from us. So she gets master bedroom, master bath, her own balcony, essentially for $800, right next to the beach in Encinitas.
Despite collecting rent from subletters and an active listing on a rental site, Alice said her renter did not pay in April, May, and June. The renter submitted this COVID hardship form to Alice. Alice works in the wedding industry and lost lots of business during the pandemic. This housing situation now adding up in legal fees.
I was pretty furious, but it's difficult. I mean, when you've not been making money for an entire year, and you're thinking, oh great, now I've got to find the money for lawyers and things like that. It's not as easy as people think.
Right now, because of the pandemic, eviction moratoriums prevent tenant evictions for not paying rent if they turn the signed form in to the landlord. On May 4th, the Board of Supervisors passed an updated, stricter eviction ordinance. Landlords can only evict tenants if they pose an imminent threat to health or safety. I spoke to attorney Lawrence Mudgett. He's not involved in this case, but has done landlord-tenant law for 14 years. He said people like Alice will have fewer options.
Unless those violations had to do with the health and safety of other tenants on the property, then the landlord's case would not be allowed to proceed. They couldn't even serve a notice.
That ordinance will expire 60 days after the state lifts all COVID-related stay-at-home orders. I called the renter for her side. We spoke for about 9 minutes. She claimed Alice is the one not cooperating. She wouldn't go into detail about any subletters, only saying one person was moving out. She then directed me to her attorney, who never got back to me. I contacted Airbnb. A spokesperson said there haven't been any reservations at Alice's property in the past year. While Alice is sympathetic to those who truly need help, she's concerned some are taking advantage of the system.
People like me, just normal, random people, are being expected to give loans to other people in the amount of thousands of dollars with absolutely no warning, and I can't see how that's a good system at all.
Melissa Masiha, Team 10.
There is currently a separate lawsuit filed by a group of landlords fighting those new eviction restrictions. Team 10 contacted Supervisor Nora Vargas, who championed the new eviction ordinance. In a statement, she says, in part, we took steps to provide protections to residents who are at risk of displacement due to COVID-19. It is shameful that other tenants are taking advantage of an ordinance meant to protect our communities most vulnerable.